Hey everyone, Dr. Frunke here with an exciting new knife consult. And I say exciting because I'm about to present you with a great Boker knife. That is absolutely unheard of. I don't even think I've reviewed a Boker knife on the channel yet because my experience with Boker, and especially Boker Plus, the Chinese-made brand of the German company, has been terrible. My experience has just been awful time and time again with very low quality. This is the Lateralis, a new offering designed by custom knife maker JB Stout. And they have done a great job with this. I am genuinely impressed. Another knife reviewer out there, Kevin Cleary, did a great video on this knife, and he too was also deeply impressed by this knife. JB Stout is an awesome custom knife maker with some of the coolest designs out there, but his knives cost north of $3,000 most of the time, which is absolutely prohibitive to the vast majority of us people. This knife is coming in right at $70, so quite a deal to get a knife that is based on a full custom and looks almost exactly like it. Of course, the materials are different, but even that is actually not so bad. So let's go ahead and get some numbers on this knife for an objective look. Up front is about a 3.75 inch blade overall. I think the website says 3.6 something. The overall cutting length is right at about 3.25 inches. Back to the pivot is about 4 inches. Overall length is very close to 8.5 inches. The handle length is just under 5 inches, maybe 4 3/4 inches, and the grip area is right at about 4 inches, maybe a hair over 4 inches. So the other dimensions here, we'll go ahead and zero that. I've got the calipers out here. The handle comes in at 0.469, 469 thousandths, so less than half an inch is really nice. And the blade stock is 137 thousandths. So it is a nice EDC size. I really enjoy knives in this size category. I'll bring out a couple of other knives for a size comparison here. Here's a here's a paramilitary 2. So you can see the knives are actually very, very similar in overall profile. There is the Mannix 2, so the Mannix is actually smaller. What I was trying to say is I enjoy knives in this size category like my 0392, so you can see this is going to go well for Dr. Frunke. I'm a big fan of this size category. I'm going to bring out a smaller knife so you can see what's going on. This is a small Insingo Inkosi from Chris Reeve Knives. And then here is a Benchmade Anthem, another knife that some people might be familiar with. So this is not a small knife by any means, and I actually enjoy that. It's a really good size for me, so I was thankful to get this in hand, and I am honestly blown away. Let's go ahead and take a look at this knife anatomically. Up front is that beautifully done stonewashed blade in CPM D2 steel. Now, this is an interesting sort of parallel to the JB Stout Customs in the sense that JB Stout routinely uses D2 steel. So D2 is sometimes not really thought of as one of the best steels out there when in fact it actually is. It's a powdered metallurgy steel. It has a very fine grain structure. It has good toughness and edge retention qualities. And the one drawback is that it's not the most stainless steel. Now, I received this knife as part of a pass-around, so I'm going to go ahead and give a shout-out to my buddy Adam Purvis and the folks that are in the group, The Traveling Knife. We've been sending this knife around. I'm about number 7 or 8 in the lineup, but what you can see is that this knife has been used, and maybe it's picking it up on the camera, but there are some permanent marks on the blade that I cannot wash out. Those are not grease marks. Those are not fingerprints. No matter what I do, I can't wash those marks off. So that's probably a quality of D2 steel, that it's not completely stainless. The edge was done by Fanatic Edge before it was sent out. Someone has decided to do some very aggressive tip work. I don't know what happened, but the edge is not perfect, and that is only because it's been heavily used before it got to me. I'm not going to allow that to really affect my review here. What I will say is that I enjoy a couple of things about this blade very much. It is beautiful to look at. It is a very functional, full belly sort of a blade there. There's no flat. So this is not going to be the best food prep knife, but this may work really well in the hunting or skinning type category. And certainly falls into the tactical category because of the length there. So I do like that. The fuller, as I've learned, is not for draining blood or preventing vacuum when you're stabbing someone, but rather it's to lighten a blade. And it actually functions beautifully here. One of my favorite things is when a pocket knife, a folding knife, includes a fuller, and you can open it with a flick like that. I actually love that. So this is not restricted to just a flipper mechanism only. So I do really appreciate that, and I think it adds to the knife. Seeing that fuller there and then the lines that are milled on the G10 handle, it's a pretty handsome looking knife, so I do appreciate that. There's some very effective jimping up top. It's sharp, but it's not uncomfortable, and you do get some positive grip. I think if you were cutting with your bare hands all day, that may get a little uncomfortable, but it is very effective. One of the things that I really don't like is this medium-sized finger choil / sharpening choil thing. Knives fall into this category all too often where this choil is too small really to put your finger in safely, but it's also really too large where you sacrifice some blade length. So a little disappointed to see that, but that's part of the custom design. That's part of the overall look. And so maybe if you have smaller fingers, you can sneak your finger in there a little bit better. Moving back to the pivot, this thing runs on ball bearings. It's very smooth. I'm actually deeply impressed with the action on this knife. The detent is finely tuned. It's not overly sharp, it's not overly light, and the blade flies out of the handle quite well, and it actually drops down very smoothly for a Boker. I'm actually impressed. The action is very, very, very smooth. The interesting thing about this pivot and the way it's put together, when I took this knife apart, there's a little like silicone washer thing up underneath this screw that actually holds that screw in place when you've tightened it down so that the centering does not come off. Now, I've been playing with this knife a whole lot, and the centering has not come off even though there's no Loctite in there. So that's an interesting solution. Then I'd be interested to hear how that holds up over time. But very nice action. Again, multiple deployment methods. It's got a flipper tab. It's got the fuller. You can use your thumb or your fingers to really open it up like that if you want to. The flipper is not obtrusive. It's not sharp. It's rather comfortable. There's no jimping. It's relatively small, so it's not going to be affecting things in your pockets too badly. Really nicely designed flipper right there. You can light switch it, and you can push button it quite well. So very, very versatile opening mechanisms on there. Moving back to the handle, up front on the presentation side, you have this nicely milled piece of G10. This is nicely done. It's very well textured. It's got a nice chamfer all the way around the edge. So it does make it feel a little bit nicer in the hand. It's not a fully sharpened corner right there. Some knives are a little bit uncomfortable like that, namely some like this that are kind of squared off, but they have done a ball milling around the edge, and so it's nice and smooth. The design on the handle takes after some of his custom work with a faux bolster-like design. It's pretty nice. There's no liner on this side. It's just plain G10. And on this side, it is a stainless steel frame lock. So that is going to keep the cost down, and it actually prevents any lock stick. There is no lock stick because this is a steel-on-steel interface. The lockup is rather late. It's somewhere around 60 to 70%. I'm not sure what it was straight from the factory, but there's no blade play, there's no lock stick, and it actually has a nice low tension on the lock bar itself. So sometimes stainless steel frame locks can be very heavy. This one does come in at 4.44 ounces, but if we put that in perspective, let me pull out the Spyderco Shaman right here. This is 5.2 ounces, so you're getting a big knife for a lot less weight than some other things. So 4.4 ounces is not all that bad. And that's actually attributable to a very impressive feat. Boker has milled out the internal side of this frame lock, and that is just blowing me away. I never would have thought that Chinese Boker Plus would go to the effort of milling out a frame lock for weight savings, so deeply impressed by that. The handle is also magically ergonomic. This reminds me a bit of the Koenig Arius and a few other knives with this design, where this area right here fits in the palm beautifully, and there's just a way that this rests in the hand that's just extremely comfortable. There's a very good grip. You can easily pull it back. The forward finger choil is good for pushing it in and stabbing it in. The ergonomics are not ideal. Again, this finger choil annoys me, but like this, your hand is very, very, very comfortable. The clip provides no hot spots, and it's nice in the hand. The clip actually functions quite well, and it rides rather deep, so this is a very nice knife to carry. It's slim in this dimension, the weight's not too bad, and it's an extremely functional blade shape. It's also very pleasurable to open and close. So for $70, I cannot complain about almost anything on this knife. I'm deeply impressed that Boker has created a quality piece for the first time, and it opens up the possibility of reviewing more nice Bokers on the channel. Well, that's going to be it, guys. Tell me what you think. Thank you to Adam and the Traveling Knife guys. Click like and subscribe to my channel here, and as always, guys, take care.